Hey, so we are here and we are talking about Blood Harvest, which is one of the coolest things that they have added to season 2 of Diablo 4. It is just incredible because it is nuts in there. The mob density is intense, the leveling is super fast, the gear drops are insane. I just think it's one of the greatest adds that they made to the game I didn't know I needed. And now that it's here, I cannot imagine playing this game without having something like this to do an early game if I'm not willing to do the campaign again or wanting to. This is where I think it really shines. In early game, it is a fun leveling mechanic that isn't the same old, same old. And so it has its own unique things going on and events. The first thing you want to check is just normal stuff. Make sure you have an elixir on. They also added XP to the incense. So you used to have those incense and you basically, people didn't really use them that much, but you could light them and then they would help everybody in an area or a party. But those now add XP as well. So those are the things we want to have in place. Now, the other thing you can do to kind of speed this up is because it's accessible right away, you want to basically be able to get in there. And so when you go to choose your new class and do not choose the campaign, choose start the season directly or skip campaign, I think is what it says. Unless you really want to play the campaign. Otherwise, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about isn't going to be valid till after you finish the campaign. But everybody else that skips the campaign, the seasonal stuff is going to be accessible immediately. So the first thing that you want to do out the gate, once you load into the season with your, after you skip campaign character, you're going to look for something that you're going to come into whatever area you load in, and there'll be a symbol like this, the seasonal quest line symbol, and you'll go and do that and start interacting with the quest. I recommend before we do Blood Harvest, even though we can go find them right away and go do them, that you do some of the quests just to kind of open up all the, like some of the mechanics of it. So what I recommend, and also get kind of into the storyline so you know what's going on with the Blood Harvest as far as the story follow through. So go and do these. What you're going to want to do is there's only a few of these. So the quests are pretty quick. I don't think it's even like a half an hour of gameplay really. Kind of follow through those and then you'll get a quest. The next quest won't show you where to go. It'll just say, go and complete your season journey chapter 1. So if you don't know where that is, if we come in, we're in the map area, we go to season right here, or you can press U if you're on the keyboard, then just click here. This is it. So the chapter 1, these are all the tasks that are for that. And once you complete that, you get these prizes. For our sake, we don't need to do that. That's a good place to stop. You've opened up enough of the game, you've got the early storyline, and now it's time to go blast the Blood Harvest and just get tons of XP and tons of gear. So now let's look at that. So we'll go back here. Now we're going to look for, we actually happen to be in the area where the Blood Harvest is right now. So the first thing we want to do that's really cool is see these 3 items. They're all really close to each other. These symbols should look familiar. These are what they did for Tree of Whispers. So if you had a Tree of Whisper quest in an area, you had one of these icons. These are always really close to each other, and they do give you Tree of Whisper points. So if you go and complete the missions that are around these areas for these things, then you also unlock the Tree of Whispers, which is way more valuable than it's ever been. Best gear you can get in the game is going to be in some of these special things because they're actually rolling at higher item levels. If you get the Tree of Whisper chest, if you do in Helltides, if you get drops in the Blood Harvest right here, or Nightmare Dungeons, the drops are going to be significantly better and actually designed to scale upwards. And I think even the bosses, the levels will be upwards. So if you wander around and just doing all the regular stuff, you're not going to get the same kind of level of drops, which means you're going to progress slower because you're not going to be able to kill the monsters as fast because you're not getting great gear. And so this is one of the best advantages of this is we're double dipping. We're doing the whispers, and every time the Blood Harvest starts in a new area every hour right now, they will load with these 3. So you always know at least the beginning of the Blood Harvest, you can get the biggest bang for your buck. You come complete these and any of the tasks that are going on around it that are designed for the Blood Harvest itself, they'll all be accessible in the same area and you'll be doing them. You'll just be killing massive swarms of mobs and getting a ton of experience. And the density is really high. I tried it on World Tier 1. I tried it on World Tier 2. The density is really high comparatively to almost everything else in early game. So it's just really nice. So let's actually jump out of the town here. And I'll show you directly what these things look like as we're actually going into the Blood Harvest. So whatever area you are, you go out just like the Helltides. It'll have that blue coat instead of the red. And now we're in the harvest. So then we'll have our things, little things that we're tracking. The first thing here is our blood lures. This will help us pull out some of the better monsters so we can get better gear. and then these keys will help us open the chest. Now, when you come in here, one of the first things you want to do is you want to make sure that you start just killing mobs and maybe completing those quests, or whatever's going on around here, and collecting at least 15 of these blood lores. And the reason that is because that will actually allow you to open or go after one of these altars. I'll just kind of wander here until I find one. They kind of spawn everywhere, so if you just run through with your horse, usually you'll see one. Okay, so that took longer than that. Will just load right here. So once you have 15, there's these altars here, and you click on these altars, and the 15 will be taken, and then this will spawn the blood seekers. Blood seekers are super, super cool. It's one of the reasons I think these areas is so enjoyable. Blood seekers are basically, in the games where you get to the end and then you'd fight your dark self, you'd fight the evil version of you, and you had to win. It was crazy hard. The blood seekers are the classes that we play in Diablo as crazed vampires. So they are trying to actually hunt us down and seek to end us, to stop us from stopping them. And so these are our way of actually having them come to us. So when we do that, 2 or 3 will spawn, and then we'll be able to actually fight them. They have the best drops for a lot of the things you're going to need. The potent blood is going to be a major thing that they drop. They also drop these keys. So if we've seen these chests, this is perfect because we have the chest right next to us. The seekers actually drop the keys for this. So that allows you to open the chest. The chest also has the chance to spawn a mob as well, including more blood seekers. So really you're kind of triggering these different events. It kind of opens up a lot. Just things are happening all the time. You're killing these blood seekers. You're getting a ton of potent blood, and you're also getting tons of gear. The drop rate for legendaries and better gear than I had at any level as I kept going was insane in this area. It felt like I was just not getting crap when I left this area. But the Bloodseekers have a high chance of dropping legendaries. When you do any special events, the chests do. Any of the things that you're doing in this area just have a really high chance of dropping awesome legendaries. Now there's one other thing. So outside you'll see these, the other little things, the Tree of Whisper things I talked about earlier. They're like kill these blood blisters, or sometimes there's like a guy in a cage or someone that needs healing that's on the ground that's been attacked by vampires. So you're just kind of helping out and doing those things. That's kind of what those end up being. They are special, like different than what we normally see, but even though they're using very similar icons. So now the other thing that is really neat, and this is just insanely overcharged versus I did not expect something this big, but I'm going to try to stay out of here so I don't get attacked. But there is these pedestals. There's 3 pedestals. It's at the icon in the middle of the Blood Harvest icon. So if you're on your map, this icon actually is something. So in Helltides, that didn't really matter, but there it is. But there'll be once you hit one of these, a beam will come to the center from each one of them. And once all 3 are done, then it will launch into just a series of endless crazy mobs popping out of here, including a ton of Bloodseekers. So when you throw them in here, you'll have one of the beams there. So I think it's really designed to have multiple players. So try to like either reach out locally or see if you're playing with a group or something. Then you each go get your 50, and then you come here and then you just do this crazy event. At level 30, I think level 32 or so, I did this event and honestly got like 12 legendaries in just this one region. It was about 5 minutes of play. It was nuts. I leveled up twice. It was cool. So it is a thing you can do. You can skip these if you want. Like the more important thing for something you can control generally is going to be coming in, doing those Tree of Whisper events, and then just opening this chest and getting those altars. Just keep going through and killing those things. So now just a really quick thing, and I don't want to go into in too detail, but I do want to show you in case you don't know. So the potent blood is the thing that drops a ton. So outside of gear, you're gonna do fine there. You're gonna get tons of gear, and you're gonna keep leveling that gear up. But you're also gonna get one of the most important things in this season, which is these potent bloods to unlock this. So what this does is, as you get the potent bloods, you basically come in here and you gamble. So you spend 25 of your potent bloods, and these are all the different vampiric powers that exist. The ones that are grayed out like this, these ones I do not have access to. How you get access to it, or how you upgrade them, is by clicking this button, and then it'll give you 3 options. So you kind of click through these, it'll tell you what they do. It even tells you that, you have it equipped or not, which is really cool. So that's going to make it really easy. I'm just doing that. So I'm going to add that one to it. So that's where you're using the potent bloods. And there's a lot more to this. And I actually have a video that goes into details I mentioned earlier. So I'll give you a link to that in the descriptions. And then the one last thing that I don't think I mentioned in the video, but here's a good way to know if your things are all active is because they'll tell you 5 active, 0 inactive. That means these are all on. If you don't have the packs, which are these little symbols that are on each of your armors, this is the total that I have. If I don't have enough of those, it'll just make one of these inactive, which can be a real pain because I switched over my gear and they had almost none of these. And when I came back, I had 2 of my 5 items active, and I was wondering why my game got so much harder, which is not working because some of these are very integral into my build right now. So that's just something to know when you come in here. So just check these when you switch out your gear. And on that note, you're getting so much gear that you definitely want to make sure that you're not spending too much time analyzing all of the gear. You want to come in and make the gear really quick. So what I do in early game, at least to level 40 about, is if the thing does more damage than the weapon that I have, I equip that. Sometimes if you're doing the two-handed thing where you have some in your offhand and your main, you may have to equip it to really check if this attack power goes up, because the attack power is the base for all of our skills. So we're getting gear so fast. Do not waste time trying to make something perfect. Don't re-roll it. Don't enchant it. Don't try to pull an aspect of another thing. It's not worth the cost. You know, honestly, save that for World Tier 3 and Sacreds and Ancestrals, because that'll save you a lot of money. And honestly, about 5 minutes later, you'll probably be replacing this because you're getting such great gear. And the gear is actually, it's better as you level. So if even a couple levels by running through and doing a bunch of stuff in early game can make a big difference in the stuff that you're getting. So you're always going to be replacing it. So save your time, just compare. Is it more damage? Put it on. If it's more armor, put it on. There is one caveat, and that's closer as when we get to 40, because we're getting ready for Capstone, is we may need to start collecting aspects that actually help our build, because that can make the difference of us clearing Capstone easy or really struggling. So as I get closer to 40, I'll have to do a bigger point gap, like for weapons. If it's over 30, I gotta switch it. I don't even care if I need that aspect. I'll find another way to get it. So that's generally my rule. For armor, I'm a little bit more lenient, but eventually you will find a cost there, especially near Capstone. So don't make the aspects that important, especially if the aspect's not really designed for the build you have. It really isn't that big of a deal. It's better to have more damage going out for most builds. There is some caveats, I'm sure, that can change, but for the most people in early game, save a lot of the crazy theory crafting and getting the perfect gear, min-maxing, really till you get into World Tier 3 where it matters, because at least you have it for a while in Sacred, and definitely when you get to Ancestral, that's where it's like crazy worth it. So that will save you an endless amount of time. Now, if you are going through Season 2 and you want to basically make sure that you are getting the most out of what you're doing, make sure you don't miss this video on Vampiric Powers, which are crazy important in this game. I covered it a little bit, but this is all the things I wish I would have known had at the very beginning before I started, because Vampiric Powers are accessible to you very early on. They're crazy powerful, and they just help you level up even faster because you're just whipping through mobs. So make sure you catch it here.